Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good evening. Welcome to Being Here. I'm Ariel.
I'm Shya. Today's podcast, its title, it's Deja Vu all over again. I thought I was over this.
Yes, I thought I was over this.
Yogi Berra, who was the manager of the New York Yankees, as well as a catcher for the New York Yankees, which is a baseball team, was when I was a kid.
Well, the team is still there, but Yogi Berra
was a catcher when I was a kid. He is quoted as saying, "It's deja vu all over again," where he states the obvious
twice.
Obviously.
The reason we're doing this particular episode is most people are used to thinking in change, and that when you get better, you're going to get over being you. So you should never get upset again. You should never have an issue with someone again. You shouldn't rush. You shouldn't get off center. All of those things that you judge as, quote, bad, when they crop back up, it's frequently thought, oh, I thought I was over this.
Right.
So today we're going to talk about lots of things. We'll start with listening in a moment, but really it's about being here and the perfection of being you in this moment.
I like listening to you.
Yes.
Yeah, you say all the right things, you know. At least you're hitting 100% right now.
Okay, well, that's good. I'm a natural.
Yes, you are. I took Ariel down to the Delaware River yesterday, and I gave her my 14-foot 2-inch fly rod, and which is 14 inches to 14 feet 2 inches. That's a big fly rod, and she picked it up and cast about 75 feet of line without any difficulty at all. She is a natural.
You know,
fish like her too.
I'm going to suggest a possibility that we all are naturals at being here. And one of the things that happened recently is Shya and I contracted the COVID virus. And during that period of time, we slept a lot, we rested a lot. And from time to time, Shya started to recover a bit sooner than I did. He would lay on the bed and watch casting videos while I was drowsing. I listened to those videos. I watched some of those videos. There's a particular cast I've never done, and we have been spay casting for
12 years, maybe.
Yeah, more than a decade for sure. And this was a cast that eluded me. It was one I perceived as difficult, and one that
therefore it was.
And I watched the video, I saw the mechanics of it, and I was impressed. I got the impression of effortlessness. And I went out and I did it perfectly from virtually the first cast. It is possible that today, your ability to be here in this moment and experience the perfection of being you can happen today effortlessly. You can be impressed with the quality of your perfection without having to do anything to make it happen.
That's true. It's true. You know, there's nothing to do. You know, you are exactly as you are in the current moment. And you've worked your whole life to get you here. It's funny. If you look at it, everything you've ever done has brought you to the current moment, to this moment of now. There's nothing you need to do. It's already done. All you have to do is be here for it. But most of the time, most of us are so busy thinking about what we think is important that we disregard the perfection and magnificence of our lives in this moment. And, I know somebody who is not very good at this point in time in their life, and they're trying to get it to turn out the way they want. And they have. They just don't realize it's the way they want. See, your life is unfolding perfectly, moment by moment. And in fact, you haven't done anything wrong. Everything has brought you to this moment. So you've done everything right. Now, you may not appreciate the way the circumstances of your life have turned out, but it's probably based in you're not looking at your hidden agendas. Because if you're looking to prove your parents did it wrong, you have no chance at all of having a magnificent life. Because then they'd get some credit for how they raised you.
Every time you bob up to magnificent, you have to do something in order to
To
hold on
undermine
to that your background.
Right. It's so I see, if you take a breath, that's all it takes to be here.
I want to talk about listening for a moment.
Oh, sure.
Because I realized as I was watching those videos while ill, I had a certain type of listening. It was active and passive at the same time, meaning I was engaged in listening to the information, but that part of me that thought I needed to do something with it was disengaged.
Right.
So I wasn't like, oh yes, next time I go down and cast a fly rod, I will try that. At that point, I had no interest or energy to conceive of going down.
Right.
I was simply receiving the information.
Right, you are letting it in without filtering it through your thoughts.
So what I've been finding is I've been regaining my robustness and my ability to conceive of completing projects. It's been a personal discipline, if you will, to set down that part of me that is scheming for the future, as opposed to simply being here.
Yep.
And it's something you can do on purpose, should you wish. Shall we take our first guest?
Oh, let's.
All right. Miss Zoe, welcome to being here. Tell people where you're zooming in from.
Hi, this is Zoe from Manhattan, and it's so good to be here with you guys.
Nice.
You
Yeah,
look good today. I like your colors.
thank you so much.
They're muted, but they really look good. What you're wearing looks really good.
You know what I appreciate, Zoe, amongst other things, but the thing I'm appreciating in this moment, we're pre-recording all of our podcasts, and we meet with the guests and our engineer as we prepare. You turn off your camera, you turn off, you mute yourself while we start the podcast, and then when we call you in, you put on your camera, you put on your microphone, and here we are together. There's a qualitative difference about you from when you turned off your camera. Clearly, you've been listening. You are so much more still, relaxed, and here. It's lovely to see.
Thank you. And it was such a gift and a pleasure to listen to you and get here.
Well, listening is the possibility of letting go of the conversation you normally listen to in your thoughts. Because if you truly listen, you're not thinking about what's being said. You're letting it come into you. And when you think about it, you're trying to fit it in with what you already know or believe to be true. So it's manipulation of information when you're thinking about it, and it's hearing things which pulls you into the current moment. So you're distracted from your own internal dialogue, which is mostly self-deprecating.
Yes.
interesting how our internal dialogue is generally about us, me, who we perceive ourselves to be. So it talks to me about me. And from time to time, it talks to me about something or someone I'm disagreeing with.
Yeah.
Well, either you or me.
What do you mean?
Well, you're either talking to yourself about you,
Right?
or me, and how I am or am not
Well,
the way you think I ought to be.
I wasn't thinking about you in particular. We got a phone call yesterday from somebody who was demanding that we have someone they know move into our house with us because that person they perceive needs help. And it was, we said no, and this person did not want to take no for an answer. And I found myself having a conversation with this individual in my thoughts once that person didn't want to hear me.
Well, you see, this is the 3 principles of instantaneous transformation. The first one is anything you don't like or don't want, you get stuck with. Ariel did not, and neither did I, by the way, want to have some stranger basically in our home living with us because they have engineered their life circumstances perfectly so they can be homeless.
I think I last met this person 20 years ago. Whoever this person is not someone I know, have a whole lot of interest in. And, you know, I have friends over from time to time, but taking somebody into my home to live with me, to help them is just outside of my reality. And for me,
well, the other thing is this, darling, I don't believe in helping people. Helping people puts me in a position of a superiority, of having made it, and they are not, and they need help. See, I am clear that people get the life circumstances they have to show up exactly as they do, so they can be right about a position or point of view, usually that their parents raised them wrong. And, you know, they're entitled to that. If they want that lifestyle, that point of view about their lives, they are entitled to be the victim of their life if they choose that. I'm not going to violate, be violent with that position. And this person wants to have that person come live with us so I can work on them to fix them, which I don't do. See, we will not try to change you or fix you or make you better. You're a perfect you. Why should I try to change you, my dear?
Now, I do have a question for you, though, Zoe.
Yes.
When you read, I thought I was over this as a podcast theme, what drew you to be a guest on this particular podcast?
Well, it did bring up a question for me, which in a way I feel like I got so many answers, but I'll still ask it. I signed up for a seminar that's going to come out, that's going to be available after this podcast comes out. So people can still register, which is called Being in Nature, that you guys are offering. And in the description of that seminar, it talks about I'm paraphrasing, but being in your life instead of in your device. That's one of the things it mentions. And that is something I've just been noticing in my own life recently, where when I'm out in the world, especially by myself, and feeling a little insecure or not sure where to look or not sure what to do with myself, I tend to get absorbed into my cell phone. And I'm a little embarrassed to ask about this because I feel like I've been taking seminars for a long time and investing time and money and energy into being here and learning about that. And like, I should be over that already. And why can't I just put my cell phone away and be here and be vulnerable?
Well, wait a second. In this moment, are you playing with your cell phone?
No.
Well, you did say one thing that was inaccurate. You said you notice that when you're uncomfortable or feeling vulnerable or insecure, you get out your cell phone. And that's not true. You judge the fact that when you're feeling uncomfortable or vulnerable or for whatever reason, particularly you say when you're alone out and about, you get out your cell phone. That's not something you've noticed. It's something you've noticed and judged, and then you've created a prescriptive for. See, part of the reason I was stuck with this individual requesting that someone they know come live in our home is because I have an internal standard of what a better me would do. And a better me would welcome this person into my home.
You know, like Ariel's mother was an incredible woman. And when her siblings were passing, she invited them to stay in her home for their passing. That's incredible. I wouldn't do that. You know, it's not my style of way of being into life. You know,
but that doesn't mean he doesn't somewhere have an internal governor that says if he were a kind person.
If I were a better person, I might.
So you think you have these standards, Zoe, of what a better person. And then from time to time, or frequently, you cross the line, you're being you, and you think, oh, I thought I was over this. You're basically I thought I wasn't me. I thought I got to where that internal dictator says I should get to.
Where a better person lives.
Yes, very true. That's very true.
I have a feeling you underestimate the draw of being part of a culture. If you were the only person out of 10 million in Manhattan or New York who whipped out her cell phone, it might be something worth looking at. But if you were to stand on the street for 5 minutes and look at the people walking by, I would imagine there's a high density of people who are involved in their device, whether it's driving by in a taxi or...
Look, we're doing another seminar in the not too far distant future called Intimacy. And intimacy is about being with your moment, about being here for this moment of your life and what you're up to in this moment, rather than about thinking about the past or the future. And most of us are not comfortable with the experience of being in current time. And a cell phone is a perfect device to help you avoid feeling where you think about the future. See, change and transformation are very different. In the dictionary, they're synonymous. But change takes place over time. It's oriented towards a future. It's trying to get to that future. It's incrementally getting to that future a little at a time. And it's linear, so it follows a track.
And it wants proof at the end of the line that it's gotten better.
Transformation, on the other hand, happens in the moment you get into current time. It happens outside of time. It isn't incremental. It's a quantum shift in the way you experience living. So it's not about getting somewhere. It's about being where you are. See, you can never be good enough for the standards that exist in your thought processes. Those standards are hardwired in, and they're not based in any reality. of this moment. They're based in a child's attempt to absorb a culture that they are born into. And in that attempt to absorb that culture, they create a reality that they think is perfection. And then they strive to get to that perfection, but they never reach it. Have you noticed that? No matter how no matter how good you get, it's never good enough for that thought process.
Yes, it's very true.
But it's never going to be. See, that's where you get into this problem. You think at some day you will achieve a place where that voice in your head won't comment on how you're doing and saying you could do better.
Yes, I do. I do think that one day I'll get there and that voice will turn off and I'll just,
You should take up spade casting.
Oh, cool.
Because every cast you make, that internal dialogue has a comment about. Oh,
Yeah.
it could have, the leader could have straightened out a little bit more. I mean, I'll make a cast that's 100 feet long or more, and the tip of the line goes off to the side about a foot. And I say, oh, look at that.
Wow.
This involves a 100-foot cast to find a flaw in the way the fly touched down on the water.
I think there's two components to that, what he's describing, Zoe. One is the starting premise that we are flawed. So we look for the flaws, because if you don't look for the flaws, you might survive, and you have to work on those flaws. That's change, and that's how our minds are organized. And the second thing is something that I'm experiencing while being with you is comparison. So you're not just looking at yourself, you're comparing yourself to your perception of how other people are and whether or not you stack up in relation to them. So you may look at us and go, oh, drawing, I'm here and they're down here. Oh, being present, I'm down here and they're up here. It's all a weird sorting process that we have that compares ourselves to other people and our environment. And that is one of those hallmarks of change. In transformation, it's about noticing all the machinations of your mind and not paying attention to any of them particularly, just letting them run by. And it includes seeing how your mind shifts as you're being connected to other people.
Oh, that is very cool. Yes, because I have been noticing that phenomenon of, I mean, for example, even just being with you guys right now, there's a relaxation in my body, there's a stillness, and I feel like I sync up with people that I'm around, and I can also potentially sync up with, people who are not feeling well, who are judging, who, it's an interesting thing to notice the change, the shifts that happen in me around different people.
Most of us don't simply notice the changes and shifts. Like, you're a teacher and you're getting ready to go back to school. And I imagine that when you were new, you weren't quite assimilated yet into the culture of the particular, you moved from one school to another. So you're not a new teacher, but it took a while before you were fully assimilated. Now that you're part of the river of reality of that school, I wouldn't be surprised if your thoughts about how to approach the school year start being more conforming to the culture at large. However, if you notice it without judging it, you can harness the pieces that you can just harness your own personal reality,
pieces that support you,
as opposed to get lost in, for instance, if there's a component of the teaching staff that has dread or complaint about going back to school, or your students, you can register it as information that is supportive. Like, oh wow, in
This is what I'm going to meet.
If I meet dread, I can embrace the dread, and I can put it in my creative projects, and we can all just paint our way to the moment.
That is amazing information, and so timely. And I've definitely been noticing things in myself. Well, not just noticing, but judging, because I have been feeling a little bit of nervousness, dread, or something around going back to work. And it feels like, no, that's wrong. I love teaching. That's wrong. So I haven't been noticing it as information, or, possibly who I'll meet, what I'll meet when I go back. So now it feels like this amazing resource. It's very cool.
Nice.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks for being with us today.
You're welcome.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Hey, it's time for the Listener Feedback Spotlight.
It's where we get to hear from people in this amazing listenership and transformation community talking about what's happening in their lives.
This is Michelle in New York City, and I just enjoy the seminars with Ariel and Shya because I get to hang out with people and friends, and I enjoy that so much.
Do you want to have well-being with consistency? Connect with people all over the world from the comfort of your own home at Ariel and Shya's lively interactive Living Made Easy virtual seminars. Join any of their 2-hour online events, or take a deep dive into the magic of being you at a virtual weekend seminar. Come on, let's connect. Find out more and register at transformationmadeeasy.com.
Welcome back.
As this podcast airs, we will be on vacation in British Columbia. We'll be back for Monday, September 12th and Tuesday, September 13th for Living Made Easy. The Tuesday is the evening in the European time zone. It'll be translated into German. The Monday is the normal 6 to 8 in the Eastern time zone. Then the weekend seminars we have coming up.
We have Intimacy, September 17th and 18th.
It's a virtual seminar, and you are invited.
And, intimacy is one of those things that everybody says they want, but somehow it's elusive. And this seminar will allow us to discover intimacy newly, not from an idea we have of what it is, but as an experience.
That weekend is a great springboard for the course we are doing in person in New Jersey, October 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. Being in nature. We'll be holding it at a rustic retreat on 400 acres, lots of wildlife and trees. It's beautiful there. And if you want to know more about any or all of our seminars, or would like to register,
website at transformationmadeeasy.com.
Shout out today is to Judy. She is a friend of ours who's also an avid Yankee fan. She suggested the topic and the information for this episode, this podcast. So shout out to you, Judy, even though you're not here as a guest today. You created the framework for it, and we're sure a lot of our listeners appreciate it and appreciate you, even if they've never met you.
That's right.
Let's take our next guest. Deirdre, welcome to being here, and tell us where you are zooming in from.
Hi, great to be with you. I am Deirdre, and I'm zooming in from Salzburg in Austria.
What are you doing in Austria?
I am playing an opera for 3 weeks. There's a very major classical music festival here in Salzburg every year during the summer. And so I get to live here for 3 weeks and play a lot of music.
What kind of instrument do you play?
I play the viola, which is the stringed instrument that's between the violin and the cello.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
What can we do for you today?
Well, yeah, I originally had a work question about work decisions, but as you've been talking with Zoe and also talking about the next seminar of intimacy, something came up much stronger for me, and I don't know, it's not a fully formed thought, but I will do my best to articulate it well.
Okay.
It's around dating, and basically I'm single and have been for about a year or so. And I recently turned 50. And I also recently, in the last couple of weeks, have met someone where there's a bit of a flirtation and it's very nice. And I've been enjoying that energy. But I find myself kind of stuck between, I have a lot of thoughts and kind of biases that come up about, this is a person who doesn't meet my expectations of a person I would be with. I mean, to me, as I say it, it sounds ridiculous. He's shorter than I am. He's also a musician, and I have it in my head that it's good not to be a musician because these lives are hard to keep together. I have thoughts about, but if we get together, then he's going to want me to work less and I'll have to change my life for this person. And there's quite lots of overwhelming thoughts. At the same time, I think, well, but why not just enjoy it? Enjoy whatever comes. It might just be a flirtation. There might be something more. But there's a really strong, it feels like two strong currents pulling me in different directions. One that says, warning, 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 this will be difficult. And another one that says, hey, loosen up and just go for it and be with him and be with it, whatever it is.
Well, Deirdre, dear.
Yes.
How old were you when you decided to have your life be about music?
I think I always knew it would be about music. I tried to go away from it in my first years after school and study economics, but it lasted a year and I came back to it. I felt it was the only natural place for me to be.
Okay. And how old were you when you decided what the ideal partner would look like?
Lord only knows. Probably very young.
Right. Probably very young.
Mm-hmm.
And so here you are, a woman of 50 years who doesn't trust herself to look and see what she wants.
You know, when you play that viola,
Yeah.
Which hand do you hold the instrument in?
The left hand.
And then, so you hold your bow or you pluck the strings with your right hand, correct?
Correct.
So in order to make music, you need both hands.
Indeed.
So as you were talking about this two rivers, you were moving your fists back and forth. One is going forward saying, go for it. And the other one's saying, no, 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 warning, warning, warning. And so you're making a certain kind of music. You're playing the harmonious chords and the dissonant chords. What if relationship exists somewhere, or the potential somewhere outside the conversation? Because as you were talking, you had these two alternatives. One, warning, this is going to turn out bad. And the other is go for it. Has it occurred to you to have a conversation with this fellow about, hey, man, I'm having these really wild conversations in relation to you?
That has not occurred to me at all. No.
Because I have found that from time to time, particularly in the early parts of our relationship, I had these pretty dynamic conversations with myself about our relationship. And I'm not sure why or how, but it started to become the norm that I communicated these things.
Well, we had a very communicative relationship from the very beginning. From our first date,
Mm-hmm.
we told each other what we needed for a relationship to work, to be satisfying, to be fulfilling. And we looked and said, oh, I can do that.
And you know what it was, Deirdre? It was less about what we wanted and needed and more about things that we'd experienced that we found disheartening. So when Shya talked about his previous marriage and that withholding of sex became weaponized as a way to punish each other, and that wasn't something he was wanting to ever experience again, we came up with a way to support ourselves and never devolving into using the withholding of our physical affection as a way to battle. So it actually set up for us to the possibility of needing to communicate, because it's really hard to be physically intimate if you're withholding things from people.
Oh, exactly that. And that's that hits on something for me. There's fear and vulnerability to. And this is something, speaking of the topic, I thought I was over it. I think of myself as a mature person with lots of life experience, who should be able to just have a conversation with this guy and not feel vulnerable.
But see, I think
but you don't get. See, I love Zoom. What I love about Zoom is I see you.
Mm.
Never seen you as radiant and alive as I'm seeing you this morning.
And as vulnerable.
So you've already accomplished or achieved or gotten to the place you need to be to have relationship be a possibility, a very real possibility, because there's a vulnerability about you, there's an openness, I see the beauty that you are not trying to get to, but that just exudes from your being. And so it's like you've already won. There's nothing to do.
You guys are amazing.
Well, yes.
Selber.
Yeah.
It takes one to know one,
That's German for it takes one to know one. The other thing is, when you are conceiving right now of having a conversation, I'm going to give the guy a name so that you don't have to reveal his name. I'm going to call him Sam. Let's say his name is Sam. So you're conceiving of, I'm going to talk to Sam about my expectations, but you jump into the middle of the conversation. You don't look at, first of all, you don't need to share anything. You never know. When you get there, it may be already handled.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The conversation may handle it. But one of the things that happens is people often skip the initial thought process and revealing it. They find it inconsequential, or they think it's stupid. They judge it. So instead of, they don't start with, I'm with you, I'm finding myself feeling hesitant. Or I'm with you, and wow, I feel so vulnerable. Or wow, at 50, I think I should be a person with a lot of life experiences. I shouldn't feel this vulnerable.
Yeah.
But
as Ariel says that, I realize something, that you're feeling vulnerable and uncertain about how to be. I find that as a very positive, because you're allowing your life to show up and you're letting go of the control knobs so that it flies. So the plane flies itself rather than you're going to have to control it.
Yeah. And with that comes also an element of, definitely for me, excitement.
Well, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Excitement. I like that.
Yeah.
See, it isn't so much fear. It's like you're trying to figure out what is this sensation, these feelings of aliveness that I'm feeling right now.
You just brought back to me, actually, I remember one of my first, it was when I was playing the violin before I switched to the viola. And one of my teachers, when I was quite small, probably 10 or 11 years old, I remember standing in the wings of the stage, just about to go on, and I think actually it was a singing thing. I was about to go and sing on stage, and I remember turning to the teacher and saying, "Oh, I don't know what's going on. I don't feel good." And I think she could see immediately I was basically, yeah, heart pumping and about to walk onto stage, and was getting overwhelmed with what that was. And she said, she was wonderful. She said, "It's pure excitement. You're just excited." And I know so many musicians for whom their first experience of that was, "Oh, I'm nervous. This is bad. This is going to go badly." But you remind me that these things, in a way, they're so, especially physically, similar, the sensations that come with them.
I remember my 50th birthday. I had threw a party for myself. We invited a lot of people. My family came from Oregon. Our son and his family came from California. We had just had people from all over, and it was really a lovely celebration. And for me, I felt like I was finally an adult. There was something about turning 50 that was awesome. It was also the beginning of a whole series of life changes. That was the Shya mentioned. My mom and dad left early from the celebration because my mom's brother needed to go into hospice, and she opened her home to them. So they flew back early for all that. So it was the beginning of also all the elder people in my family passing, because 3 of her siblings passed within a month of each other. And there was something I couldn't conceive of, and that was the possibility of my energy changing. I could see it, but I couldn't imagine the experience of it. So there's one thing you said that caught me. You said, I have this concern that I will get with this guy, I'll fall for this guy, we'll have a connection, and he will want me to work less. What if you want you to work less?
Oh, yeah, I hadn't thought of that. Yeah.
Because right now, who you are is all tied up in what you do and how much you work and your success level and that. And I think it's lovely. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that.
Yep.
I see that everything changes, life changes, everything is a flow. And it's an exciting adventure. It's exciting. I imagine heart pounding at the idea of letting go of some of that. If you're standing in the wings of that possibility, you're probably going to be having a heart pounding moment also.
Oh, it's wonderful. Absolutely. And I have noticed these thought changes coming, different energy levels. I notice already that now that work is coming back after COVID times, I say no a lot more to the tours that I used to love when I was in my 20s and 30s, that would go to a different city every day, and you'd be in a different country every day, talking a different language, and that I loved. And now I've been refusing most of those and accepting the work that stays in one place, because then I have more energy for it and I can enjoy day-to-day life more. So I think, standing in those wings is already happening. And
I also see something else, Deirdre, and that is not just refusing the things that you feel might be too energy consumptive. It's also allowing to plan for things that you want for additionally, personally. Like, we spoke about Camp Tecumseh, and I know that when we did that 2-3 years ago, you came. And in order to do that, I'm certain you had to turn down some jobs.
Yeah.
And whether it's Camp Tecumseh or it's I want to go to Greece or I'm going to sit in my apartment and do nothing, I'm not sure right now with things coming back after COVID, you give yourself permission to pre-plan things for you simply because it's something you want.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Yes, I notice that there's been a bit of a survival mechanism that's come also in the time after COVID of take everything that comes because you don't know when it's going to go again.
Yeah, well, the same thing before COVID too. You just didn't.
Yeah, true.
The survival mechanism has been there forever, and with enlightenment, with transformation, there's a way of disengaging from the survival mechanism so you can experience your life.
But also, you were listening to the conversation with Zoe, she's in the river of co-teachers and administrators and students in her particular school.
You're in the river of orchestra.
Yeah.
And the musicians getting back to work after a period of time where everything like that was shut down because there were no mass events.
And I would pretty well bet everything that the participants in your orchestra are not enlightened and are very much in survival and worrying about a future that has not arrived.
Absolutely. You've hit the nail on the head.
Can't lose that bet because it applies to just about humanity everywhere.
Before we close out today and go, I just want to mention something. Shya was talking to you earlier about seeing how radiant you are and vulnerable and here and beautiful. And we often look at what we consider to be the good times and the bad times. And if you take a look at COVID, most of us have that encapsulated as this at least semi-horrific event that really changed our lifestyles, interrupted everything. And on one level, that is true. A lot of people lost a lot of people whom they love. But if this is the result of that shutdown, I wouldn't be so worried about another one.
Wonderful. Thanks.
Yeah, you are. Thank you.
Really enjoyed being with you today. By the way, if you want to be a guest like Deirdre or Zoe, just go to transformationmadeeasy.com/being here and find out how. By the way, our newsletter comes out tomorrow. We get the first of each month. If you're not yet part of our newsletter system, please sign up. You're gonna be able to receive articles, videos, incredible blogs from people in the community, and it's an amazing resource. And before we leave today, I just want to thank you for listening. And
we appreciate your listening. Otherwise, we'd be talking to ourselves.
And when we talk to ourselves, I don't know, it's never as much fun as talking to you. Next week's episode.
Love me, love me.
Love me do.
Yes.
That's it.
Love me do.
That was a dyslexic.
That was a dyslexic. Love me do. Okay.
So we'll be back next week.
So come on back.
And don't miss
being here.